Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is about how we moved our dog Ronnie from the UK to Abu Dhabi. So I've got my laptop with me because it was quite a process, made much easier by the company that we used. Absolutely not sponsored, by the way. Everything that I'm mentioning in this video was completely paid for by us. We did a lot of research into the company that we wanted to use. So I just want to talk through the process on how we moved him. You might be able to hear him in the background, but that's fine. It just adds to the vibe. So we moved back in October 2023. And I guess my advice would be to start the process of moving your dog or cat about 3 months before you move. We didn't do this because we didn't know that we were moving until about 5 weeks, I think, before we actually moved. So yes, my advice would be to start the process about 3 months before you actually plan on wanting your dog out to the UAE. However, we didn't have that time. So we actually started the process, I think 2 weeks before, which was so stressful. I've got a whole video on the day that we moved him. I've also vlogged from a couple of weeks before we moved. And if you've watched those vlogs, you will know that was a very stressful time in our life. We got married. So Jake got his work contract through. He was due to start in 5 weeks. We wanted to get married before we moved. So we planned a wedding and got married and started the process of moving Ronnie. We packed up our whole house, moved out, all in the space of about 5 weeks. So it was absolutely crazy. Would have made our lives easier if we had spaced things out more, but I think ultimately it was a good decision because it meant that we were just jumping into it and we didn't have time to get cold feet and not do it. Anyway, so the process is you have to make sure that their vaccines are all up to date, because that is all that anybody will ask you, whether you decide to use one of these companies that helps you move them or you want to do it on your own. You can do either, but you will need to make sure that their vaccines are completely up to date, and you need to make sure that the vaccines that they require here, that they also have before they fly. So that is step one. We hired Pawsome Pets to move Ronnie. They're very popular. They are actually based in Dubai, which was really important to me because I felt like they would be well versed in the local laws and they would have all of the correct information on the permits and everything. Well, hopefully all the other companies have all this information as well, but I didn't want anything to get delayed, particularly for him if he's already flown, and I didn't want him to be stuck in a crate basically in this country purely because of paperwork not being done correctly. That was a real fear of mine. So it was important to me that we had a company that was based in the UAE handle his move, and they were very, very good. They partnered up with Pets Abroad UK. So Pets Abroad UK handled everything UK side. So they told us all the vaccines that we would need. They helped us sort out anything that we needed from the vets, which was a health certificate. I think it was just a health certificate and his vaccines, which I think altogether came to about £300. We had it was a bit of a back and forth. I had actually moved out to Abu Dhabi at this point. So my parents and my brother were taking him to the vets for us, and we were like communicating to the vet through my parents or my brother. So it was tough, but it was fine. So yes, I think all of that came to about £300 at the vets for the health certificate. The vet checked him out to make sure that he was all fit to fly and everything, and obviously vaccines that he needed. I think he had to have his rabies vaccine, which was a requirement for entering the UAE, and he also had to be updated on his yearly vaccines. So that's the vets. That was pretty simple. That's quite easy to book in and just tick off the list. Then let me refer to my notes. So the first thing I did was contact Pawsome, and I got a quote from them. So I actually found my original quote. It came to a total of 11,837 dirhams, which is about £2,300, something around there. And that was for everything. And I'm actually going to show you exactly what was included in that quote. So that includes the MOCA AE or MOC AE import permit that the UAE requires. That also included the MOCA AE fees, which is his arrival into the UAE. MOCA AE, by the way, stands for Ministry of Climate Change and Environment. So that fee included the vet inspection upon his arrival and his release fees. Then that included his airline and customs clearance fees, arrival into Dubai. Then there was the Pawsome Pets service fee, which was 2,000 dirhams. That included all the liaison with their overseas partners, so Pets Abroad in the UK. That included the import permit issuance, airline and customs clearance formalities and fees, vet clearance and formalities and fees, receiving your pet post completion of all arrival. So when he is cleared out of customs, they took him out for a wee, they gave him his food, gave him water, and then they brought him to our apartment from Dubai. And then there's a couple of other things that's included. You get like discount on their pet boarding when you go away on holiday and all sorts of things, but that wasn't really part of why we chose them. The reason why we chose to fly Ronnie into Dubai rather than Abu Dhabi was because Pawsome actually explained to us that the process of clearing animals through customs is a lot quicker at Dubai airport than it is Abu Dhabi, because they just have everything that they need on site. There's a vet, there's everything, all the stuff that they need. So that's why. I mentioned before, I didn't want Ronnie sitting in a crate for hours wondering where the hell he is and what is happening and where's my mum. So we wanted that process to be as quick as possible for him. So that's why we chose to move him over to Dubai. So that was the quote from Pawsome. Like I said, it totals 11,837. Again, that was in October 2023, so I don't know how accurate that is now, but that's just for reference what we ended up paying. You pay the fee into payments, so we paid 50% when we sort of confirmed with them that we wanted to use them, and then we paid 50% after Ronnie's flight was booked, and they handle all of the flight bookings and everything. So Pawsome advised which vaccines he needed to be up to date on, which is when we booked the vets, got all that sorted. We then had to send the vaccine booklet to Pawsome via email, just like photos of it, so that they could put all the information in so that they could then book his flight. They then sent us flight options. They gave us I think it was 3 different flight options, and we picked the most appropriate one for us. And then they confirmed the flight, and they made this little boarding pass for him that was so cute. It made me, actually, when I saw that, I was so nervous, the nerves started kicking in for his actual flight, because it made it more real. So once we'd confirmed the flight, I then had a couple of other declarations to sign, insurance paperwork to sort, because in that quote was insurance, so I had to sign everything to basically hand my baby over to them, which was So now we're at the day of the flight. So obviously me and Jake were living here already. Ronnie had stayed with my parents. At this point, it was 2 months that he'd been with them. So on the day of the flight, they had to bring him to Heathrow to a special area. I think they had to drive around the back of the airport, and there's a different entrance for animals. So he had to arrive about 6 hours before his flight, which was, worse probably for us than him, because he probably got lots of fuss from all the staff, and he's such a people dog, so he would have loved it, I'm sure. Probably very confused, but he still would have been loving the attention. However, for us, it was painful knowing that he was on his own in the airport for 6 hours. But the team at Pets Abroad, which again is the UK arm, they sent us photos of him in their office, which was so kind of them and really put my mind at ease. Also, just to mention, just before the travel date, you will get added to a couple of different WhatsApp groups. So we were added into 2, I think. One which was the WhatsApp group for everybody that was going to be handling Ronnie on the UK side of things, and then we were added to one from the Dubai side of things. So we knew everybody that was going to be, everyone introduced themselves, and really, really friendly, really put our minds at ease, because it kind of made us realize they were normal people and dog lovers too. And so yeah, when he was at the airport, they sent us photos of him in the office with them playing with a ball, and just, you know, looked like he had a great time, to be honest. And then they let us know when he was leaving their office and going to the plane, to the actual airport. And by this point we were just so beside ourselves. I actually remember the day, the one day I needed Wi-Fi to be on WhatsApp, and was the one day that we didn't have Wi-Fi in the apartment because it was being connected, because we'd just moved in. So I actually spent the day in IKEA because they had free Wi-Fi, and I could just sit there and no one was going to bother me, because I was just sat in the restaurant in IKEA waiting, probably looking very stressed all day, waiting for WhatsApp updates. But yeah, so anyway, they messaged us saying that he was on his way to the airport. This was like a couple of hours before the flight. He would be checked over by a vet last minute to make sure he was good to go, which he was. The vet also gave him a flea was it a flea treatment or just a worming treatment? I think it might have just been a worming treatment before his flight. Another thing to mention is, so we were told that we could only bring, or with him, we could only pack with him a flat bed. So he had one of those beds that's kind of like goes all the way around, and it kind of has a cushion in the middle. So my mum picked out the cushion, and that was what he travelled in. That goes inside his crate. They're given water inside the crate as well. And you're supposed to pack 2 packs, like pouches of wet food, or I think you can take dry food if they eat dry food. But yeah, you put 2 pouches of food in a little like clear plastic bag, and they basically staple that to the outside of his crate, and they will feed your dog once they land. So they do go quite a long time without food, but it's safer that way, because temperature changes, pressure changes on the plane can make them feel sick. So it's better for them to have an empty stomach than a full stomach on a flight. So yes, and also when he actually came to us, one of the food pouches was empty, so I knew that he had eaten, which made me feel better. So then we were tracking Ronnie's flight basically all night. He had a nighttime flight. I don't think he slept a wink at all, because as soon as he landed and got to us, he was asleep within like 2 minutes. So I don't think he slept a wink. But yeah, so he landed in Dubai. There was a slight delay at Dubai airport that I wasn't pleased about particularly, but Pawson were really good with their communication. They said that basically the vet that works at the airport to check all the dogs through and make sure they're okay and make sure that they're safe to enter the country, the vet actually called in sick, so they had to wait for another vet to come. So there was a bit of a delay there. But like I said, communication was really good. They let us know what was happening. And then, yeah, they text when Ronnie was cleared to come through. He was then handed over to the guy, I think his name was Dean, who then basically took Ronnie out of his crate. We had pictures of him doing a wee, having his food, having some water in Dubai, which was wild to see that he was in Dubai. Yes, he sent us a video of him, just like, I don't know where they were in the airport. You could hear that they were in outside the airport, but obviously it's like in a secure area. And then it was time for him to be on his journey here. So then he was in the back of a van and transported here, and I have a video of us reuniting with him, which I'll put in here. And that was just the best day ever. Actually, I think the day that Ronnie arrived was the day that we both felt so settled and comfortable here. Obviously, we'd been without a proper routine with Ronnie for 2 months, and we just couldn't wait to see him. 2 months is such a long time for a dog, and we just wanted to make up for lost time. So he arrived, we kind of just, took him around the area a little bit, let him see the sights, do a wee and a poo, and then we brought him home and he slept. He was absolutely gone for a good few hours. Bless him, he was probably so tired from his flight. But yeah, that was the process of how we moved him, and it was very stressful. I wouldn't want to do it again in a hurry. However, wouldn't change it for the world. I always say that it's one day. It's one day of everybody being uncomfortable. My mum and dad cried on their way home from dropping him off at the airport. Ronnie was probably really scared at the airport. Me and Jake were just full of anxiety the whole time. We just kept crying that whole day. We would just look at each other and just cry because we were just like, oh my God, I can't believe he's at the airport on his own. He's going to be on this flight. He's going to be terrified. But I think it's all a distant memory now. Hopefully we won't have to do it again. And yeah, it was worth the stress times 1,000. So if moving a dog over to the UAE is what is holding you back from moving to the UAE, it's over and done with in a day. I know it's a horrible day for everybody, but it is over and done with in a day. And once they're here, they just want to be with their people. They just want to be with their mum and dad, their family. And so once they're here, it's just everybody's happy again. So please don't let it put you off. Obviously, your dog has to be healthy and, relatively young in order to move them out, so that they don't get too stressed on the flight. I know there are horror stories. I really tried not to look up like TikTok vlogs of dogs moving abroad, and because I know that there's going to be horror stories, but there is with everything. There's a risk with everything. I could walk out of my apartment and we could both be hit by a truck. There's a risk in everything you do. But just try not to let that hold you back in life. That's kind of my motto in life, to be honest. There's always a risk, but why not try? So anyway, that was how we moved Ronnie from the UK to the UAE, specifically Abu Dhabi. Let me know if you have any questions. I have a vlog of the day that he moved, which I will link in the description, as well as a couple of TikToks that I've made about moving him as well. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm more than happy to answer anything. I may have missed some things in this video, so I apologize if I have, but please let me know if you need any more information. I'm quite happy to, I'm a completely open book about it, and I completely understand the anxiety, so I'm happy to help wherever I can. But thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time.